They told me this wasn't possible. That's what they said. I don't know who they are, but I know who we are. I'm looking at we the people. And I'm not talking about we the people 250 years ago. That was a much smaller we. I'm talking about the aggressive fabulosity of this we.
Well, for the first time in a while, I'm bringing you breaking news that isn't terrible. It's actually really, really good. So we had some elections tonight, primary elections in particular, and leftists did so damn good. We're talking clapping the cheeks of AIPAC-funded centrist Democrats, something I did not anticipate, and I needed to see this because I was starting to lose faith in Democratic primary voters, especially after the results of the Illinois race. But this has kind of restored my faith a little bit in Democratic Party primary voters. So let me just cut to the chase, and let's talk about the results. Chris Rabb, running in Pennsylvania's 3rd Congressional District, won, and he won by a landslide. We're talking a 15-point victory, and this is so important because Chris Rabb is amazing. He isn't just a progressive leftist Democrat, supports Medicare for all, checks all the boxes. He's a Bernie Sanders type Democrat, but he is very, very clear that he opposes genocide, not just genocide in Palestine, genocide in Sudan. He wants to stop U.S. complicity with death and destruction, and he is so concise.
AIPAC is trash.
And clear in the way he talks about this. And the fact that he won by a massive margin communicates to me that Democratic Party primary voters are serious about wanting the party to go in a different direction. So this is incredible, incredible news here. And I'm not going to lie, my cynical ass was thinking he was not going to be able to pull this off. But thankfully, there were 2 other centrist candidates in this particular primary, and it looks like they split the vote, which paved the way for Chris Rabb's victory. But I don't want to take anything away from him because he ran a phenomenal campaign, and to see it pay off and to see him take this W, this is very exciting. But that's not all. So if you go to Kentucky, Charles Booker defeated Amy McGrath by 11 points for their Democratic primary for the U.S. Senate. And Charles Booker, again, is a progressive candidate. Amy McGrath is an uninspiring centrist who has the charisma of a doorknob. So the fact that she got any votes is still very perplexing to me. Nonetheless, Charles Booker prevailed pretty easily, 11-point victory. But it's not as cut and dry in Oregon as it is in these other states. So let me just talk about my state. Not necessarily a state that's talked about very much. But so Jeff Merkley, my senator, he won, and I'm glad that he won. He is somebody who I voted for in the primary. I usually don't vote for incumbents in the primary, but Jeff Merkley is somebody who I think is phenomenal. I think he has national name recognition, potential presidential contender one day. I don't want him to go anywhere. But there's Democrats that I'm not super excited about. There's Suzanne Bonamici, which is the representative in the 1st District of Oregon. She represents me. And I did not like the way that she handled the genocide. She took money from AIPAC. She basically told us to fuck off at town halls when we asked for a ceasefire. Thankfully, she's come a little bit further towards us with public pressure. Nonetheless, it still was egregious what she did. So I wanted to vote against her. The problem is that her primary opponent, his name is Jamil Ahmad. He didn't really run a great campaign, if I'm being honest. I received no information about him, no mailers, no phone calls, no texts, no outreach from the campaign. Just as a voter, not as like a podcaster, to be clear, as a voter. And the only reason why I know about him is because I looked him up. And his platform is great when it comes to Israel-Palestine. The problem is he seems to be more of a one-issue voter, didn't really have a comprehensible plan on healthcare, didn't seemingly support Medicare for all. So, when given the choice between a candidate who isn't great on Israel, but is trying to improve, but also supports Medicare for all, and somebody who doesn't support Medicare for all, but is really good on Israel-Palestine, it's a little bit more tricky. I ended up voting for Jamil Ahmad simply because I wanted to send a message to Suzanne Bonamici that our support is not guaranteed. Didn't think that he would win. Nonetheless, she is a relatively progressive congressperson, comparatively speaking. Like, she's not good, but like compared to the rest of the ghouls, she's not the worst. Another problem in Oregon is we have a governor, Tina Kotek, who is atrocious. She is a quintessential pro-corporate neoliberal Democrat. And Tina Kotek is doing everything in her power to give $400 million of our tax dollars to a billionaire who is demanding that she renovate the Moda Center. Otherwise, he's going to pull the Blazers out of the state. I personally do not care. We don't need a renovation of the fucking Moda Center. I mean, we all use the Moda Center. We go to concerts there. We watch games there. But it's fine the way that it is. We don't need to give this giveaway to the billionaire when there are people in this state sleeping on the streets, but that's what Tina Kotek is prioritizing because she prioritizes business over everyone else. And yet Republicans, they still harp on her because they think she's not business friendly enough. I mean, she's basically spread our ass cheeks for us, for every single fucking tech company data center in the world to come build data centers in our backyard, but they're still pissed off that she's not pro-business enough. So it's outrageous. And, that's why politics in our state is so fucked up. When you look at if you go to a random Facebook post of Tina Kotek, you see Republicans accusing her of voting multiple times because, if the governor wanted to rig an election, she would vote herself multiple times. And they're also calling her a man because she is an openly gay politician. That's the primary concern of Oregon Republicans. All of a sudden, something that was never controversial, which is mail-in voting, is controversial because Daddy Trump thinks that it's bad. So now I think that Republicans in Oregon think that they can't win because we've had mail-in voting for decades, when in actuality, there's just more of us than there is of you. So, with that being said, the criticisms from the right of Tina Kotek are dumb, but the problem is the primary didn't give me much hope because there's approximately 18,256 Democrats who are running against her, and I don't know how you expect to beat someone when you're splitting the vote in 9 different ways. Not to mention, if you look at the preliminary votes that came in, I took a screenshot of this, there's more write-in votes than there is for the person who's in second place, Brittany Jones, which is the individual who I voted for. But I mean, some of these candidates, I swear to God, they didn't even have fucking websites, bro. They didn't even have websites. They had Facebook pages, didn't even have any information about their policies. And I just feel like there's such a lack of coordination in some states. There's so much unseriousness, no organization, that I feel like, if we just got our shit together and we organized, we actually could live in a better state. We could get things done. There's no reason why in a deep blue state like Oregon, we don't have our own Mamdani. But, that's the way it went. Still, it's Oregon, not the worst state, not the best state, but, the results are disappointing nonetheless. I do feel satisfied in the sense that I got to give the politicians who are terrible a bit of a middle finger. But when it comes to the Republican side, that's where things get really interesting because the takeaway from tonight is that the Democratic Party, little by little, is getting better. Slowly but surely. More slowly, but surely, right? We're getting more and more better Democrats because the base is changing. Whereas with the Republican Party, they're still somehow getting worse because Trump really has solidified his control of the party. So a couple of days ago now, or maybe it was, actually I think it was today, Trump decided to endorse Ken Paxton over John Cornyn in the Texas runoff. John Cornyn has beclowned himself to get this endorsement. He's shared tweets of himself reading Donald Trump's dumbass book. He has proposed legislation to name highways after Donald Trump, and all that ass-kissing got him was nothing, because Trump endorsed Ken Paxton over him. And it's just, I don't know what to do but laugh. Then there's Bill Cassidy, who just lost, and even though this man is a literal medical doctor, he still voted for RFK Jr. because he wanted to appease Daddy Trump, and he still lost after beclowning himself for Donald Trump. Now, the lesson today is that the reason why these Republicans are beclowning themselves for Donald Trump and licking the boot is because you can't survive in the Republican Party unless you sell your soul to Donald Trump. And that's where we get to the 3rd congressional district in Kentucky. This primary race is the most expensive primary race in the history of the United States. I shit you not. And Thomas Massie, because he dared to oppose Donald Trump's warmongering, because he doesn't take money from Israel, and because he wanted to expose pedophiles, he earned the wrath of Donald Trump. And it cost him everything, including his career. I say that because his opponent, Ed Galbraith, beat him by almost 10 points, which is a huge win for Zionists and pedophiles. And it's crazy because the dude didn't really have any policy positions, and Kyle Kulinski made this point on Twitter. He basically talked about how he was going to lick Donald Trump's boots and farting in church. Like, I'm not making that up. That is what his campaign consisted of. Like, there is a compilation of him talking about farting in church. Let me just play it because I feel like you're not going to think I'm being for real if I don't play the clip for you. So here it is.
Sister Mary Fulgence, I got a whooping when I farted in church. I'm sorry. I did, and I deserved it. You knew everything about me, pardon me again, all the way to when I farted in the 2nd grade there at St. Paul's and got a whooping out in the parking lot.
He knows when I farted in church.
He knows everything about me, probably all the way back to the 2nd grade when I farted in church.
By then, they found out I farted in church, all the way to farting in church in the 2nd grade. I guarantee it. Well, you might remember that I let it slip, and I don't think the nuns down at St. Paul's are too happy with me, and I might get called to Sister Mary Fulgenton's office. And so with respect to that, we knew if he farted in church.
Right.
So
we know if Maduro's farting in church. I'll just be frank with you.
So that was essentially his campaign, and I'm going to suck Donald Trump's nuts from the back. And he beat Thomas Massie. Why? Because don't you dare go against Israel and pedophiles. It's just crazy to me. Trump has the Republican base on lock. It doesn't matter how unpopular he gets. They don't give a fuck. This is a cult. They celebrated Thomas Massie's ouster loudly. Trump bootlickers were doing Trump's double jerk-off dance to celebrate his loss. Randy Fine tweeted, "This is Donald Trump's Republican Party. The rest of us get the privilege of living in it." And just to give you a sense of how gone they are, Trip Gabriel of the New York Times shared this. Listening to NPR interview a Georgia voter this AM who rated Trump A+ and was asked how he was managing higher food prices. His answer, "My wife and I fast." He's forced to fast because food prices are so high, but yet he gives Donald Trump, the cause of food prices going up, an A+. He'll fast for daddy because loyalty to Donald Trump over everything, including the health of him and his wife. It's just, they are gone. They are so fucking gone. These people are severely mentally ill, and I don't mean that as a pejorative. I mean they are genuinely mentally ill and they need treatment because this is not normal. They're mad at Massie specifically because he tried to expose Donald Trump's pedophilia. This is not normal. I can't get over the fact that we have a large percentage of the American population that's just like, yeah, fuck it. We support pedophiles and we don't want you to expose pedophilia. We don't want you to release the Epstein files because that might expose Donald Trump, who we support unequivocally. I just don't know what to even make of that. It doesn't matter that Trump is invading every single country in the world. Like, he's saber rattling against Greenland again. He just bombed Nigeria. He is making threats to Cuba. And, you know, there's stories being planted, obviously, right now, suggesting that Cuba's a threat to us and they could harm us militarily because they're trying to create a pretense for an invasion. Still gonna bomb Iran. I'm assuming the ceasefire is not gonna hold much longer, and they're just like, fuck it, we're gonna ride or die. And it's looking like die, but we're still gonna go. We're gonna ride until the wheels come off. I just don't know what to make of that. So the good news is that the Democratic Party, at least seemingly, knock on wood, not that I'm superstitious, but seems like their voters are getting their act together finally, and they're realizing that corporate, centrist Democrats, neoliberal Democrats, Zionist Democrats that support genocide, they are not our ticket to victory. Whereas when it comes to Republican voters, I mean, they're shitting their pants and rubbing their feces on the wall and eating glue. And I don't know what to do with these folks. We need to really, really invest in mental health in this country. But I don't want to be too much doom and gloom when it comes to Republicans because Republicans are going to Republican, and they've always been psychopathic, just they're more so than ever. But when it comes to Chris Rabb, Charles Booker, I mean, Democrats, you made me so happy. You warmed my heart by voting for candidates who are going to at least try to make our lives better. You know, long gone are the days where, you know, Democratic voters fall for the candidate who says better things aren't possible. I don't know why you would opt for that. You know, there was an interview with Matt and Emma, and they talked to Mallory McMorrow, who's running against Abdul El Sayed in Michigan Senate primary. And she was like, yeah, I don't support Medicare for all because we just don't have the votes. Okay, but if you supported that, we'd get closer to that. And she's also like, yeah, but, you know, we just have to support the fastest way to get everybody to universal health care. Okay, that would be by supporting Medicare for all. You get everybody to universal health care like that, 100% coverage. And then when it comes to, you know, genocide, she recognizes that it's a genocide in Palestine, but yet she doesn't want to say that word because it really hurts people's feelings. And you just see people shitting on her, and I love to see that because I feel like we should now all be savvy enough to recognize which politicians are bullshitting us and which ones are at least going to try to fight. Maybe they'll fail, but at least they fucking try. And that is all we can hope for. That is all we can hope for in this shitty, fucked up, irredeemable system. Okay? So I think it's great that Democratic Party primary voters are waking up and they really do seem as radicalized as we thought. And I hope this continues, but we'll see. Don't disappoint me, Democrats, okay? Vote for Abdul El Sayed. Keep voting for progressives. And we'll be in a better spot, hopefully.
Up yours, up yours, up yours.
Sons of bitches.
Woke moralist, woke moralist, woke moralist.
I dreamed I saw my maternal grandmother. She was stroking herself absent-mindedly. I let her have her way. Her genital region was exposed. I let her have her way.